And so our European road trip begins. Hello everyone and welcome back to the GB3 Championship and welcome to the fitting location of Circuit Zandvoort, of course the home of the Dutch Grand Prix, of course the home of the bike as well. And of course it has been an excellent run so far in that opening round at Silverstone. Our championship leader though, they're not in attendance. The door is open then for others to make a charge in the championship. Before we focus here though on Zandvoort, let's remind ourselves of that fantastic season opener back in Silverstone just a few weeks ago. Highlights from the opening weekend of the 2025 season, the GB3 Championship partnered by the BRDC. And it was Freddie Slater starting from pole position after a dominant qualifying session. He was able to lead down into the first corner, but not from Jean-Marco Prado, who qualified in second position, but by Noah Lyle, who was able to sweep his way through and take over second position in his JHR Developments car. It was Freddie Slater, though, leading into Magnus Beckers and Chappell, with all three Roden cars battling over third, fourth and fifth position. Abby Pulling dropping back into that fifth position, the rear end of that train. There was battling up and down the order, including this one from Keanu Alazari trying to get his way past Dion Gowder at the back end of the top 10, and then of course opening up the opportunity for Kanato Lee and for Will McIntyre. Lee into the rear end, losing a little bit of his nose cone, and it was Will McIntyre making the progress on that occasion. Deegan Fairclough was making plenty of progress after starting from the pit lane, getting up to the rear end of Hugo Schwarzer, but unfortunately that was as far as he would get up the order, just 17th position, and couldn't progress any further. Someone who didn't need any further progressing was this driver here, Freddie Slater, absolutely dominant in his opening race of 2025. He would take the first victory of the season in dominant fashion, 4 hill speed across the line for Freddie Slater. And then it was time for the second race of the weekend and the first one on Sunday, based on the times from a second qualifying session. And it was once again Freddie Slater on pole position, leading down into the first corner. It was Noah Lyle sweeping his way through into second position, and there was a couple of stallers, of course one of those being Will McIntyre, who was pushed back into the pit lane. There was plenty of battling though behind that, as everyone was trying to find their way through in the midfield, all going single file as they would head their way through Abbey at the back end of the top 10, as Will McIntyre's car was rescued by the marshals and pushed back into pit lane, where unfortunately he would have to start the race, and of course he would be at the rear end of the field through the entirety of the second race of the season. Noah Lyle then would be on the charge to try and close up to Freddie Slater, who was starting to check away as the safety car would come in and the race would begin once again. Patrick Huizenmoder was trying to make a move on Abby Pulling towards the back end of the top 10. Pulling able to hang on this occasion. Patrick Huizenmoder unable to work his way through. There was this move as well, Nikita Johnson trying to fend off the number 12 of Alex Ninovic, and on that occasion it would work out before Ninovic was being passed by his teammate Jean-Marco Prado as they would head their way through the Stowe corner, trying to go for the up and under of his teammate, trying to make that one stick. And then there was this move late on in the race that would basically cause an end to the race. Dion Gowder down the inside of Keanu Alazari, causing this incident and causing the safety car, meaning that Freddie Slater would come across the line to win his second race of the season. Noah Lyle and Nikita Johnson would round out the podium behind. Once again, a fantastic performance from Slater. And then it was on to the final race of the weekend, the reverse grid based on the fastest qualifying times, the top 12 being reversed round. There was drama before we even got into turn 1. There was drama at turn 1 though, as Noah Lyle was sent straight off into the gravel trap, courtesy of a 4-wide moment through the first corner. There was also this moment heading out onto the Hamilton straight, as Abby Pulling would have this contact with Dion Gowder, the pair of them coming together, and of course the pair of their races being over basically before it's even started. Will McIntyre through all that would take over the race lead and would lead the race under the safety car restart. Hugo Schwarzer would go out wide, relinquishing a couple of positions in doing so. Meanwhile, this driver here, the number 7, of course it's Deegan Fairclough, making his way up from the rear end of the field, picking up pieces left, right and centre as he would march his way up towards the top 10. Freddie Slater would have this contact with Nikita Johnson though, as he was trying to battle his way up the order into a potential podium, and unfortunately there was the Roden car that was also taken out in the mix as well. Freddie Slater was able to keep on going before moving his way up the field. There was also this moment from Bostangiev having a bit of a spin and then stalling at the first corner, unfortunately opening up the opportunity for others to pass him and for him to retire from the race. There was Freddie Slater moving his way up the order, and there was Will McIntyre coming across the line for his 4th victory in GB3 and his first of 2025. It was an awesome opening round to 2025 and a fantastic performance from Freddie Slater. Some drivers, though, having a bit of a struggle in the opening round of the championship. One of those is Flynn Jacks, and we caught up with him before racing began here at Zandvoort.
Flynn, back in the GB3 paddock for the second season. How are things going with your new team?
It's great. The guys here are so nice, and everything's been so good. But just building on what I laid down last year.
You've got a really good team out alongside you, haven't you? Will, who's won 4 races in the championship. How useful is it having somebody like that alongside you as a benchmark and someone to get data from and more information from?
Yeah, it's great having someone that quick to get data from, but it's also just nice to be around him. He's a good guy to hang around. It's quite fun. Yeah.
Flynn, racing a racing car is pretty difficult at the best of times. You're coming back from an incident at the end of last year. It wasn't on a racetrack, but on the roads. But just tell us about what you went through at the end of last year.
I'm not sure if I can go into details, but I was on the way home from the test at Donington last year and got into a motor accident on the drive home, and I ended up having a compound fracture on my shin, and I've been recovering since. But it's been a bit of a hindrance, but it hasn't affected my ability to drive that much.
Yeah, but obviously you've got I think you said before, you've got a pin in your leg, haven't you? Is that for the rest of your life?
Yeah, it's I've got a rod in my leg for the rest of my life that never comes out. It was a big job for people to do, and I'd just like to thank the people at Coventry, the hospital, who did everything so super quick and super well.
How long did it take you to be able to get in a position to go back in a racing car again?
To get back into a racing car, it took me about 3 months. 3 months, and I tested it out in a shifter car to see how it went. But then after that, slowly built up to it. Yeah.
Obviously, it's a pretty tricky thing to go through. But was there any point where you sort of reconsidered your career options because of that?
A bit, yeah. But I just kept at it, mainly just in the simulator, knowing what pace I have and just being able to extract it, and just still having my belief in my own abilities and everything kept me going through it.
And like obviously the pin in your leg, is that hindering you when you're in the car, or are you sort of back to normal, do you think?
Not really in the car. At the beginning of the season, I was kind of having a little bit of issues with my ankle, just controlling it, but it's been getting stronger and stronger, and it's been getting better. It's just mainly trying to do intensive cardio and everything. Just can't do that much.
And coming back to this year, obviously it's a new car, new team, but how are things meeting your expectations so far?
It's been pretty good. The team's been really good. The facilities have been great. It's just I'm a bit underwhelmed with my pace. I definitely feel like I've got more in the tank, but I just need to build up to and unlock it. So yeah, hopefully in the future.
You got a year under your belt already. What are your expectations now for the rest of the season?
Just hopefully consistent points. Just be further ahead than I was last year, and just get used to this new car as well.
And how are things going at Zandvoort so far, and what you're looking to achieve this weekend?
Pretty good. My lap times have been pretty okay. Not the best, but I definitely have the pace in me. My times will come. It's just a matter of putting everything together.
Well, Flynn, good luck, and good luck for the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Well, I think you could say resilience personified there in the hands of Flynn Jacks. I'm sure there was points last year where he thought he'd never be back in a race car again, but he is back, and it is great to have him back on the grid. As I said, a bit of a struggle in the opening round of the season. That said, he is in position to return and see if he can get something special here at Zandvoort. Someone who also had a little bit of a struggle back in the previous round of the championship was Huampu Shui, who did get a top 10 in the final race of Silverstone. Let's see if he can get anything more this weekend. Let's catch up with him and see what he thought.
Wampu, you've made the big step up from F4 this year to GB3. How are things going so far?
Yeah, it's going quite well. Consider we are a bit off pace in Silverstone, and this round obviously we've been quite strong. Also in the qualifying session we've improved quite significantly, so I think it's quite a good step so far.
Yeah, you've come into GB3 as a Mercedes junior driver. How important is that for your career?
Well, it just, with Mercedes, they really helped me a lot through my entire career, even in karting, so it's really important then.
In terms of your involvement with the team, do you get to visit the factory or take advantage of the facilities and speak with members of the team to help improve your driving?
Of course, every time when I have a chance to visit, then I'll have had a lot of experience from the other drivers or the other team member stuff, which can be really helpful.
Has Toto mentioned any TPC running for you yet, or is that too far off?
Still a bit far off me, I think. I don't know, let's see.
Just going back to GB3 then, you've just had your best qualifying result. That must be a massive confidence boost going into the race today.
Definitely. If consider last week we're quite far off, but this weekend we are quite far forward again. So hopefully we can make some progress in the races and also for tomorrow then.
Obviously, there's a lot of progress you've made. There's a lot more positions in qualifying this time compared to at Silverstone. Where do you think you've made those big gains?
Well, I think in general, just on my driving side as well, and a bit on everything. So obviously, different track, different environment, different weather, all this kind of stuff. So it just if we put everything together, then we can be out there. So.
And of course, it's your first year in GB3. So what are your expectations for the season as a whole? Are you looking at wins and podiums, or are you looking just to constantly make progress?
Well, obviously, making progress is one of the key things, and if we got an opportunity to do the other stuff, like winning races or podium, that can be great.
Well, it all sounds very positive. Good luck this weekend, and we hope to see you towards the sharp end of the grid.
Thank you.
Good to catch up with Wampu Shui then, of course, someone that we haven't really heard too much from, but someone who is associated with one of the young driver academies of Mercedes. Of course, it's almost time to jump into the action here. Let's get ready to go racing. Racing action ready to go then for the first of our European rounds in 2025. It is a return to circuit Zandvoort for the third time in GB3's history. We are getting used to this circuit. We are getting settled around this circuit. And that's why Pat Huizenrode was a driver who has set the fastest time in qualifying and has grabbed pole position. This is the circuit that they'll be racing around. Of course, that run into Tarzan, that first corner, and then up and around the Hugenholtz block, that deep banking through the left-hander. They head their way through the S's section up towards Sky Black before they flick it right through Masters and then drop it down on the brakes into turn 9. Through turn 10, where they've got the first DRS detection point and of course the first DRS zone, a much shorter DRS run as they go through into the Hans Ernst block through Kumo and then out through the Ari Lyndijk block, the final corner of the circuit, 18 degrees of banking through there, and of course running around down towards start-finish straight where they have the longer of the two DRS zones. A lot of opportunity for overtaking around here over the just over 2.5 miles. And once again, the reminder of that 18 degrees of banking, just about 8 meters of elevation change as they run around the dunes here at Zandvoort. You can see there the drivers are in position. They've come out of the assembly area. And as I mentioned earlier on in this broadcast, there is the top driver in the championship, Freddie Slater, is not here for this round due to other commitments in the world of motorsport. And what that means is for drivers like Deegan Fairclough, for example, on the left-hand side of your screen in that number 7 high-tech TGR car, this is the primary opportunity for a driver like that to get on after it and to score some decent points here and actually start to claw back some of that deficit that was gained in the previous round after the struggles at Silverstone. With some of the issues in the car. Pat Huizenrode, though, one of the drivers with the most experience around here, has raced every time that we've come to Circuit Zandvoort and has shown that experience. Of course, he made his debut round here and is qualified on the pole position. Looked strong in qualifying in the XL Motorsport car and once again, leading from that pole position. It's not going to be an easy run, though. He's going to have some drivers behind him that will be aggressive, that will want to get after it. Of course, not only does he have Deegan Fairclough, he does also have the Rodin Motorsport duo of Gianmarco Prado and Alex Ninovic. Those two that were battling quite a lot around Silverstone. Quite a few lockups here as we head our way down into Tarzan on the opening lap of the race. Let's take a look at the qualifying order. Pat Huizenrode then on pole position alongside Deegan Fairclough, who started from the pit lane and then from the back in the 3 races back in Silverstone. Gianmarco Prado will start from 3rd position with Alex Ninovic alongside the 2 Rodin Motorsports drivers on row number 2. Then it's Reza Suuthan. He'll be starting from 5th position, decent qualifying from him, alongside Kai Darianani for the JHR Developments team in that number 88 on row number 3. Behind that, on row 4, it's Yuanpu Shui, who we did catch up with before the race, alongside Noah Lyle, who looked great back in Silverstone, aside from that race 3 crash when it was 4 wide down into turn 1. Keanu Alazari for BWT will start from 9th position in that high-tech TGR car, with Hugo Schwarzer alongside for VRD. Then it's Nikita Johnson in 11th position, who was comfortable getting his elbows out back in Silverstone. Will McIntyre, a race winner in race number 3. And in fact, is the only race winner then on the grid that's won this season, courtesy of Freddie Slater not being here. Abby Pulling starting from 13th position after a struggling qualifying alongside Stefan Bostangiev, who's in 14th position. Flynn Jacks in 15th position for the Elite Motorsports team, with Lucas Flusha starting from 16th spot. Just 3 more cars left to go with Bianca Bustamante and Divi Nandan. Unfortunately, there was a red flag in qualifying courtesy of a crash for Jack Sherwood, who'll be starting from 19th and last on the grid. So they'll all roll their way into positions. If you've not joined us here in GB3 before, hello, welcome. Get yourselves ready, because this is going to be a fun race, I am sure. DRS will be active during this race, in that long DRS zone on the start-finish straight down into Tarzan. Surely it's going to open things up very nicely for overtaking indeed. Now, obviously, these drivers are going to have to keep themselves clean, going to have to keep themselves protected, and going to have to focus on getting a nice, tidy race start, of course. It will be roughly 16 laps or 25 minutes, whichever one comes first. Pat Huizenroder rolling himself into position, staring at a great opportunity for victory, but he's got a driver that's hungry alongside him. Gained 18 positions in race 3, did Deegan Fairclough, after starting from 25th position in race 3. He was able to march his way through into a fantastic drive inside the top 10, gaining a whole host of points. And it's the first time that I've ever calculated a driver that has breached the most amount of positions that you can gain with the bonus points in race 3. That's something to deal with at a later date, but it just shows how impressive his overtaking prowess has been thus far in the 2025 season. He needs one overtake to secure victory. Pat Huizenroder will do all he can to defend on the right-hand side in that number 5. The green flag is in the air in the background, and 25 minutes goes onto the clock. 16 laps of racing here around Circuit Zandvoort as we get ready to race our way down into the first corner. The lights come on, and we're ready to go. Pat Huizenroder on the pole position on the right-hand side, Deegan Fairclough on the left. It is a long hold on the grid at the moment as the anticipation builds from our drivers. You've got the 21 then, directly behind of Gianmarco Prado and Alex Ninovic. I wonder if there might be an aborted start here from race control. I thought everyone was going to get ready to go racing, but alas, the green flag, not so much. The start has been delayed, so we will most likely get another formation lap, which will take 1 lap off of the 16 running. Then I was getting really excited and getting into that then. But alas, we will have to wait a few moments before we are able to see these cars race around the circuit. You can see there on the left-hand side, courtesy of us racing here alongside GT World Challenge, it is a busy pit lane in there. And obviously, if there is an incident in the race, these drivers and cars need to come down onto pit lane. With the pit lane in, with that much volume of people in there, they are unable to get this race underway at the moment. So you can see there the mechanics on the left-hand side rushing out, and they'll be rushing to their drivers to make sure that, for one, these cars don't stall, and for 2, as much as they do have starters on them, or basically you don't have to bring out one of those starters to stick it in the rear end like you would see in things like Formula 1 and such. They do have an onboard starter. One thing that is noted, these cars do overheat. They're not designed to be sat stationary. They like to move around. They like to be having plenty of air thrown into them. And alas, when they're stationary, that doesn't really happen. So a delayed race start then here. Pat Huizenroder's probably heart rate was really increasing very quickly then. And then suddenly everything needs to calm down. And it's one of those things that we hear about a lot in motorsport. Some drivers deal with this better than others. Some drivers are calm and it's fine. It works for them. They're okay when it comes to these delayed race starts. Other drivers, they get nervous, and the delay, the breach of procedure gets in their head. And for some of these drivers, it can really kind of bury itself in your mind and then you're maybe not able to find the rhythm once more. So in that sense, I'd almost potentially even expect to stall if we get this race started in a few minutes. You can see the marshal here at the bottom of our screen about to hold up a delay board. It can either be 3 minutes or 5 minutes, depends which side we can see, and then we know the other side. I think it might be 5 minutes that he's about to delay this start by. Of course, I don't know how much that's going to affect our race in terms of time, but in the laps, we will lose a lap. They will have to do one formation lap after this so that they can get themselves back into the grid box. They can't do a race start from this scenario. They have to do a formation lap. And so what that will entail is a 1 lap shorter race. So we'll be down to just 15. Let's talk about the previous round of the championship then, so that you can maybe be a little bit up to speed. If you didn't join us back in Silverstone, Freddie Slater is the championship leader. He won 2 of the races back in Silverstone, but of course is not in action here today, which means it's a prime opportunity for drivers like Noah Lyle to get on after it and maybe score some decent results. Finished in second in both of the opening 2 races at Silverstone, and then unfortunately retired at turn 1 the previous round, of course, that one being race 3. Nikita Johnson, he's third in the championship on 46 points, 27 off of Freddie Slater's haul of 73. However, not a good qualifying for Nikita Johnson. Arguably the best qualified driver that's up there already in the in contention is Gianmarco Prado and Pat Huizenrode. The 2 of those have scored pretty handsomely back in Silverstone. Prado, of course, has got a 3rd place and a 4th place to his name. That's given him 45 points in those opening 2 races. Retired, unfortunately, from the 3rd one in a disastrous race for the Rodin Motorsports team, where all 3 of their cars were unfortunate retirements. Pat Huizenrode, though, who's on the pole position, has 44 points to his name, 29 off of the championship lead. And of course, sits there in 5th in the championship. Some drivers that are well out of position in the championship, of course, one of the main ones would have to be Deegan Fairclough, the dominant British Formula 4 champion. Set a lot of records over there. Came into GB3 expecting to contend for the championship, expecting to be right within it. And unfortunately, some issues for him with the car, with some of the approach, a couple of technical problems as well with the team, and they were unable to qualify quite so well. Having to start as well, race 1 from the pit lane, receiving a penalty after they changed the tub. They had to then start the next 2 races from the rear of the field. The 3-minute board, by the way, goes up, so we'll be back underway, at least with a formation lap in 3 minutes' time. But yeah, Deegan Fairclough having to start from the rear end of the field in both races 2 and 3, and then from the pit lane in race 1. Really showed his overtaking ability, especially in race 3. He is way down in the championship, though. That's the big problem for Deegan Fairclough at the moment. He's 13th in the championship, having scored just 25 points in the opening round of the season. And, normally you'd look at that and maybe think, maybe it's over before it's even begun. With how things work out here in GB3, we've got 24 races over the season. We visit so many different circuits. If you're knocked out of the rhythm in race 1, in round 1, and the first weekend of the championship, don't worry about it too much. You'll be able to throw yourself back into contention in no time. Of course, like I say, it's all about mentality at this level and keeping your head in the game. You can see there the race control message, race reduced to 15 laps or a maximum of 23 minutes, whichever one comes first. One of those notable things, if you look at the all-time race records around here for GB3, I think it's about 1 minute 30 in the hands of Alex Dunn a couple of years ago. That will fall this weekend. I can tell you that for sure. We've already gone faster than that in practice, comfortably so, and we will be going faster than that during the in the races. I have no doubt that record will not stand throughout the run of this 2025 season. Certainly not if the weather holds up. Oh, it's brilliant out there. It's absolutely lovely conditions at Zandvoort. There's confirmation of the 3-minute board then. So the drivers are all made aware of that, as is all of the teams. So they'll remove all of the cooling equipment from the cars as they'll work their way back into the pit lane. You can see there on the left-hand side, pit lane is clearer than it was 5 minutes ago. All of the podium ceremony has come to a close. And so all those team personnel, all those fans celebrating, friends, family from previous races, of course, they have moved out of the pit lane, and they'll allow us to go racing. So that's always a positive thing. We will need one more formation lap, though. So they'll send their way round the circuit once more, and when we'll go round, we'll remind you as to how things are standing on the grid. And again, Pat Huizenrode, it was a superb pole position from him. The lap was clean. It was beautiful. He hasn't got both of the pole positions, though. One of the major changes for the 2025 season, of course, we don't just have one qualifying session. We have two qualifying sessions, one for race 1, one for race 2, and then the grid for race 3 is a top 12 reverse grid from the fastest times in the combined session. So you put your fastest time from either qualifying 1 or qualifying 2 into one big sheet, and there's top 12 of that, and they're reversed. So the marshal in the middle of the road obviously signals to the drivers 15 seconds, and we will be rolling our way around Circuit Zandvoort once again, getting ourselves ready. It will be a standing start once more. We won't need the safety car to lead us round, so the race has not technically begun, which is always good because we do love ourselves a little bit of a standing start, and it gives that drama down into the first corner. We've had that time and time again. A couple of incidents, of course, down into the first turn at Tarzan. A couple of unbelievable overtakes as well. We'll need to see something very special from Deegan Fairclough and the likes. It is a circuit which can be quite difficult to overtake at. The addition, though, of DRS for 2025 should make that a little bit easier. Let's remind you of the grid, though, as we roll around for our second formation lap. Pat Huizenrode will be starting from pole position alongside Deegan Fairclough in the high-tech TGR car after a troubled round back in Silverstone. Gianmarco Prado and Alex Ninovic find themselves up there in the championship and up there in the race as well, third and fourth for the Rodin drivers. The Argenti with Prema driver Reza Zwerthen will start from 5th position alongside Kai Darianani for JHR Developments. Wampu Shui will start from 7th position alongside Noah Lyle, the driver who sits 2nd in the championship at the moment after a difficult qualifying. Keanu Alazari will start from 9th position alongside Hugo Schwarzer for the VRD Racing team, who made a big statement even around this circuit last year, if memory serves. Nikita Johnson will start alongside Will McIntyre inside the top 12. And, of course, Will McIntyre taking that fantastic victory back in race number 3 of the season, the previous race back in Silverstone. Abby Pulling will start alongside Stefan Bostantiev in 13th and 14th spot. Of course, Bostantiev there for the Fortec, although I will say his livery doesn't look too much like a Fortec. I'm sure we'll spot him driving around the circuit. Flynn Jacks will start from 15th position with Lucas Flusha for the Argenti, with Prema starting from 16. The penultimate row of the grid sees Bianca Bustamante and Divi Nandan for the Chris Dittman Racing team. And then one final position on the grid after causing a red flag in qualifying after a crash in qualifying number 1. It's Jack Sherwood for the XL Motorsports team. He'll be starting from 19th position in all 3 of the races this weekend. So a bit of a struggle, unfortunately, for Sherwood. Alas, sometimes that's just how it goes. We'll have to wait and see if he's able to work his way through the order, like what we've seen so many drivers, like the hands of Deegan Fairclough and such, do back in the previous round at Silverstone, like what we saw plenty of drivers do in the years past in GB3. So the drivers work their way through Ari Lyondike and then back out onto the start-finish straight, where they'll find their way into the pit boxes, and the tension can once again rise. Pat Huizenrode there in the white, blue and pink XL car on the right-hand side of your screen. You've got that silver, black and red. Of course, the number 7 of Deegan Fairclough. You've got the 2 Rodins there on row number 2, the 21, of course, of Gianmarco Prado. And there's Alex Ninovic on the left-hand side, the yellow highlights for Prado, the white highlights for Ninovic. This is going to be a tough run down into the first corner, down into Tarzan. You can go a bit deep here into Tarzan, the opening corner of the circuit, and then find that later apex and carry the speed off the corner. Pat Huizenrode surely already has a plan in his mind as to how this one goes. It has to go, though, with a good start to the race as the drivers are now all in position. Once again, it's 15 laps onto the board. It's 23 minutes as the lights come on, and we're ready to go racing for the 4th time in 2025. Pat Huizenrode from pole position, already trying to cover off the number 7 there of Deegan Fairclough. He does so brilliantly. Fairclough gets to the outside as they head their way into the first corner, but it is Pat Huizenrode leading as we head out of the first turn and racing down towards the second and third corners into the Hugenholz spot. You had Keanu Alazari there picking up a bit of grass and a bit of dirt as he flings it down to the inside of Hugenholz. You've got the number 11 there on the high side as they work their way through the corner. That's Noah Lyle, who's able to keep Alazari at bay. Still side by side as they depart Hugenholz to 33 there. The VRD racing car of Hugo Schwarzer trying to go side by side with the black and yellow of Will McIntyre, who's now trying to look down the inside of the JHR Developments driver there of Kai Darianani, unable to work his way through on that occasion. But it's a brilliant race start for Patrick Huizenrode, who's able to hang on straight around the outside there. In a brilliant move comes Flynn Jacks in the black and yellow with the orange highlights. That's the Elite Motorsports driver. After such a disaster towards the end of 2024, he is back and he has got the passion, the aggression, everything that we expect from Flynn Jacks as he works his way straight around the outside of Hugo Schwarzer. Now he's going to defend with the orange highlights coming down into the Hans Ernst box, and it will be the 55 just about hanging on to the position. This is Jack Sherwood in the number 78 white and purple and pink XL Motorsports car, starting from the rear end of the field and now fending off Bostangiev in the silver and red. And that's a great start to the race then for the number 78 of Jack Sherwood, who back in GB4 in 2022 was arguably the best overtaker on the grid. He put on an unbelievable display time and time again in GB4 on that occasion. Big lockup coming down to the first corner as Hugo Schwarzer in the 33 is able to work his way through. Big lockup coming in from the 78 of Jack Sherwood as he's going to make contact here with Stefan Bostangiev. Bostangiev is off the road in the silver and red, and that's opened the door for Abby Pulling also to come through, who's had a poor start to the race. Unfortunately for Bostangiev, losing out a couple of positions there and dropping his way down the order now into, I think, 17th position. Back up toward the front, you saw Pat Huizenrode work his way through in the number 5. He is still your race leader. Deegan Fairclough then in second position with Gianmarco Prado, Alex Dinovich, Reza Sawurthan with Yampu Shui, then Noah Lyle, Alazari, Darianani and McIntyre, the top 10. What an epic start, though, to the race for Pat Huizenrode, trying to search down the victory for the first time in 2025. Is absolutely flying at the moment ahead of Deegan Fairclough as we head our way into into turn 10. There's a bit of a move coming in from number 4. That is Nikita Johnson trying to make a move as he was trying to work his way up the order at present. Like I said, it's very, very interesting here with how things are unfolding. Pat Huizenrode, with a brilliant start to the race, is starting to clear away into the distance. Deegan Fairclough then in second position with Gianmarco Prado, Alex Dinovich and Reza Sawurthan inside the top 5. Back out onto Ari Lyondike, and of course the confirmation then that DRS has been enabled. They head their way down into that first corner with that DRS wide open, and we can see the move coming in now. Flynn Jacks trying to fend off, or rather trying to get past Flusha, who's able to work his way through in that number 3 car. So that's 13th position for Flusha. You've got the 78 there of Jack Sherwood, who's currently trying to work his way back into the mix. So look down the inside of the Hugenholz box. That was a brilliant move coming in there. He might be a bit slow off the corner though as they head their way back up towards Scheivlak. We'll have to wait and see if he's going to be passed once more by Flynn Jacks. It's been an epic battle thus far between these two, and it's an epic battle that is indeed continuing. Already a few laps down in the race. We've got plenty more left to go. 3 down of the 15. We'll have 12 left to go after this point. Of course, the race 1 lap shorter than where we'd typically expect races around this circuit. Huizenrode, though, is leading at the moment by just 0.8 of a second. The fastest first sector came in from Deegan Fairclough on this lap, but it's a faster middle sector coming in from Pat Huizenrode, who's able to pull clear. Like I said, the gap 0.8 of a second. He wants it over a second, because once it is, of course, you're outside of that DRS. If you're within 1 second of the car ahead, you get to open the rear wing, just like it is in Formula 1. This is the battle between Wampu Shui, between Reza Sawurthan. Of course, that battle for 5th position at the moment on the road between those two Argenti with Premers. And it is Reza Sawurthan hanging on. Speaking of Argenti with Premers and heading back down the order, 13th position at the moment. The silver and blue car there, that is Flusha, with a look to the outside coming in from Jack Sherwood. He's able to fend off Sherwood at the moment. But unfortunately for Flusha, there is no assistance of DRS for him. There is no car close enough ahead, so we have to deal with this. Look at that for a move. I said he's good at overtaking. Fantastic stuff from Jack Sherwood. Straight down the inside as they head their way into Hugenholz box. But now he's got a slow run out of the corner as they head their way back up towards Scheivlak. You've got to be brave, though, to make a move to the inside But at the moment, it will be Jack Sherwood hanging on. I don't see too many overtakes happening down there into Sky Black. Certainly not at this point in the race. Maybe on lap 1, we might see the opportunity for a driver to sneak their way through. But once the race is underway, once you're back in the rhythm, it doesn't seem particularly likely. Slightly faster first sector coming in from Pat Hoyson-Rode, your race leader. He's now pulled the gap out to 1.3 seconds over Deegan Fairclough behind. So it does seem as though the number 5 XL Motorsports car is starting to move clear. This is the battle for Schwarzer. This is the battle for 11th position. The number 33 of Hugo Schwarzer in that charcoal grey with the red highlights. That one, of course, the VRD racing car. And then the silver car directly behind is Nikita Johnson, who was aggressive back the last round of Silverstone and was going on the attack, was trying to basically find his way through on anyone. Ended up on the podium in race number 2 as well, did Nikita Johnson. And it just shows that every single driver on this grid, basically, they're capable of grabbing podiums. If Nikita Johnson got one in the previous rounds and it wasn't in a reverse grid race, and yet here is struggling a little bit further down the order, well, it just shows the talent level in GB3. It's up and down and all over the place, which is exactly what we want to see. That's what makes an exciting championship. Nikita Johnson to the low side is going to get a slow run, though, off of Hugenholtz, which does mean that the position will most certainly be held by Schwarzer on the run down into Sky Black. Unfortunately for Schwarzer, though, he's lost the slipstream, he's lost the DRS from Will McIntyre up ahead as we head back up towards the 2 Rodin cars, battling for 3rd and 4th. Gianmarco Prado, Alex Ninovic, Reza Sawutin behind as well, keeping Wampu Shui at bay. The battle for 5th position. There is Prado in the yellow highlighted Rodin car, and there is your race leader. Got to keep an eye on him. The gap came down by a couple of tenths of a second in the first sector there, so maybe things aren't completely over for Pat Hoyson-Rode, who was trying to run clear and use his experience in the GB3 Championship to keep Deegan Fairclough at bay. But the dominant British Formula 4 champion is closing his way in. There you go. You can see the gaps then on the right-hand side of your screen as we get ready to complete the 5th lap of running here at Circuit Zandvoort. It's Hoyson-Rode leading, 1.2 seconds clear. See how much the gap comes down at the end of this lap as to whether Deegan Fairclough is closing his way in. Fantastic final sector, though, from Hoyson-Rode. A couple of tenths faster than Deegan Fairclough. And once again, that gap goes out. Back to the battle then for Hugo Schwarzer and Nikita Johnson to be outside using DRS into the opening corner at Tarzan. You've got Schwarzer, who's down the inside. He's made contact, and there goes the spin. Nikita Johnson spun round, and will he be able to get that car back going again? I don't believe his wheels are fully in the gravel, so he should be able to find first gear and get that car moving. And certainly with the banking out there, it should assist him with rolling down the circuit. That said, that car is still stationary and everyone has passed. If that car could not get moving under its own power, then we will require a safety car. It's not quite rolling forward yet. We'll keep you updated from race control as to whether there will be the intervention of a safety car. But for right now, we'll have to wait and see. That car's not got moving yet. Deegan Fairclough, by the way, is just at the fastest first sector of the race. So he is charging his way back down onto the rear end of Pat Hoyson-Rode. And I was saying that we were going to absolutely destroy the lap record, by the way. We're not even close to it yet. The lap record's in the 1 minute 30. We're just at a 1 minute 31.8. So we need a little bit faster lap time from these drivers who were able to take the GB3 lap record around the circuit Zandvoort. Maybe this lap is going to be the one for Deegan Fairclough. He's set a purple first sector. He's gone quite well in the second sector, and as he works his way back out onto the start-finish straight as they head through Ari Lyondike. See if the gap comes down. Pat Hoyson-Rode, though, has been really strong in that final sector. I'm not sure the gap's going to change too much. There's Nikita Johnson rolling then. It's taken him a long time to get that car moving. He's not that far away from going a lap down, you know. As the fastest lap, it didn't come in. I'm surprised. It didn't come in from Deegan Fairclough. He only set a 131.9 on that lap, which was only a tenth faster than Pat Hoyson-Rode, your race leader. So Hoyson-Rode is doing everything he can to keep Fairclough at bay, and the more he controls this gap around that 1.3 seconds, the more he will be able to just take control of the race. And I know that sounds easy, that sounds simple. When you're trying to keep a gap of 1.3 seconds to Deegan Fairclough, it's not super easy. You've got to manage a lot of things in your head. Of course, we said before about managing tyres. You need to do that across the whole weekend, but obviously on a race-to-race basis. But you need to manage your own mentality and your own focus. It's hard to keep focused throughout the entirety of the race. I know they're only 25 minutes, but still, the ability that you need to push 110% every single lap, try and keep the driver behind you at bay. Well, things may be falling apart here a little bit for Pat Huizenrode, as he had a poor opening sector to the race, and now Deacon Fairclough is back within DRS. We go into the second DRS detection zone, which is where Deacon Fairclough would have picked it up. So he's definitely in DRS range now of our race leader. This is a little bit further down the order. This is with Flynn Jacks, who's had a bit of a moment earlier on in the race. He's dropped down to 16th position behind Bastantiev and Abby Pulling, who had a fantastic start to the season, did Abby Pulling, back in Silverstone. Unfortunately, qualifying did not go well here for race number 1. And so, unfortunately, dropping back and not quite showing the speed and consistency that we saw back in Zandvoort for the F1 Academy champion. Gap goes back out to over a second at the front of the field then for Pat Huizenrode. Deacon Fairclough remaining behind in second position. That gap growing to just over a second. Fairclough looks like he might have an easy run here to second position, but of course he wants the victory. He's hunting him down. He wants multiple victories, not just one. He wants the championship, and he has the ability to do so, as does Pat Huizenrode, as does Pradl, Ninovic, Swuthen. I mean, look, they all do. They've all got the ability to get on after it. As we look at Bostantiev in the silver and red car, of course, that one is a Fortec, a slightly different livery than what we normally see, the Fortec livery. Bostantiev keeping his way up to the rear end of Abby Pulling as she's starting to feel the pressure. Speaking of pressure, there is your race leader. Gap is back under a second once again. Slightly wider line coming in, though, from Deacon Fairclough in the silver, black and red high-tech TGR car behind as Fairclough trying to apply the pressure. Did have the DRS open, though, for Fairclough. And it's got slightly more of an advantage here than it did back in Silverstone, does the DRS. As this is more of a high downforce circuit, you need more of that rear wing to keep the car planted through the corners. At Silverstone, it was actually quite a flat rear wing, which then meant that once you've opened up the DRS, well, it's going from quite a flat rear wing to a very flat rear wing, which actually doesn't make that much of a difference realistically. You're only gaining a few kilometres an hour at the end of the straight, whereas with a wider, or rather a more downforce on the rear end, a bigger rear wing, effectively, just by how you're turning those elements. It's basically opening up more of a slot. There's more of a percentage difference when DRS is open, meaning that it makes more of an impact. You gain more speed overall on the race down into the first corner. Also, the DRS zone down into T1 is huge. I think it's even bigger than any of the ones we had at Silverstone. It might be one of the biggest ones of the year because you're opening it throughout the final corner as well. Victor Bastantiev still in 15th position on the rear end of Abby Pulling. Pulling desperate not to make a single mistake here. 14th position is still points, of course. The top 20 scoring points. So all 19 drivers will be scoring points. Abby Pulling needing to score some decent ones here. Thankfully for them in the team's championship, the Rodin team have Pradl and Ninovic in 3rd and 4th position, so the team itself will be scoring very handsomely here. The other team that's in contention, obviously, in that team championship is Hillspeed, and Hillspeed don't have any drivers out in action here today. Of course, they did have Freddie Slate, they had Kanato Lee, and Yamakoshi, all three absent here at Zandvoort. Down then into Hans Ernst, and of course, still able to keep that gap. It is such a short DRS zone. Really, I think that DRS zone down at Hans Ernst is more about setting up an overtake rather than making anything serious stick. They come out through the final corner and out towards the line to complete the 9th lap of racing here at Zandvoort. So there'll be 6 left to go. We'll just about have enough time to get all 6 of those done. So 6 laps left of racing for Huizenrode to fend off Fairclough, but Pradl to keep his teammate Ninovic at bay. That's the battle that we're looking at the moment. It's Jan-Marco Pradl in the white, black and yellow. The white, black and white Rodin car there of Ninovic is the one in 4th position. Reza Swuthen and Wampu Shui in 5th and 6th position. It's the battle of the teammates, it appears, here in the dunes of Zandvoort. Noah Lyle, though, is keeping up with Wampu Shui and Reza Swuthen, so maybe we'll see the JHR Development driver do something about the two Argenti with Kramers. There's confirmation of the gap and how much it's changed. Ninovic has been closing in a couple of tenths over the last few laps. There's Keanu Alazari at the rear end of the top 10, 8th position at the moment, and closing up to the JHR Developments driver of Noah Lyle. Will there be an opportunity for the BWT, that bright, very distinctive BWT car, to do anything about Noah Lyle up ahead, of course, the Alpine-backed driver. We'll have to wait and see. Once again, the battle for the podium as they head back out through Ari Lyondike. It's close, but it's not going to be close enough. Deegan Fairclough, by the way, has dropped off the race lead battle as it is a comfortable run coming in, nearly a personal best lap of the race from Pat Huizenmoder on that lap as he builds his gap comfortably over Deegan Fairclough. Fairclough set a 1 minute 32.5. Pat Huizenmoder was 7/10 faster than that with a 1 minute 31.8. The driver in third position, Gianmarco Prado, set a 1 minute 32.2. So it was 2/10 faster than Deegan Fairclough on the previous lap. There is potential for Rodin to catch up with Gianmarco Prado and Alex Ninovic up to the rear end of Deegan Fairclough. Fairclough, he needs some good points onto the board. And like I say, this will be at second place, will almost effectively reignite his aspirations of taking on the 2025 championship here in the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. And for Fairclough, it's not been an easy start to the season. Like I said, we've spoke time and time again about the issues back in Silverstone with basically it was right from the off. It was in qualifying, less so even the race. It started from a terrible position, then they had to fix the car and basically change some bits around and sort out some couple of problems, and then they had to start from the rear of the field in races 2 and 3. None of that thus far this weekend. Fairclough qualifying really well for race number 1 this weekend. And has qualified in exactly the same position for race number 2. Fairclough will be starting second place in race number 2. There's Alex Ninovic that will be starting from pole position. Race number 2, of course, is tomorrow morning. And as much as these drivers aren't even remotely thinking about tomorrow's race just yet, still it's one of those things that will be in your mind. We actually kind of saw this a little bit back in Silverstone, where race 1 and race 2 were really, really calm, because a lot of the drivers were thinking big picture, keeping the nose clean, obviously making sure the mechanics are happy going into Sunday's racing. And then, of course, in race 2 of the weekend, you want to keep the nose clean so that you're not giving the mechanics too much to do before race 3. And then race 3 happened, and everyone thought, well, let's go for it then. And we saw a few incidents. We saw some great overtaking. That might be very much the similar thing here today. Hugo Schwarzer then still able to keep Jack Sherwood at bay. Sherwood's had a great drive, by the way, from 19th position up to 12th, gaining a few and looking strong. There is confirmation of the gap coming down. Gianmarco Prado is nearly in DRS range of Deegan Fairclough, who seems to be struggling a little bit in the Rocket-sponsored high-tech TGR car. At the moment, we are ticking down the time in the race. We are running out of time in the race. We've completed 12 laps. At the end of this one, it will be at the end of this lap, it will be a 12th one completed. So I think there's 3 left to go around Zandvoort. I'll have an update from race control in a second on that one. Huizenmoder, like I say, he's looking really, really good, as are both of those Rodin cars of Prado and Ninovic. But Ninovic now is kind of thinking, right, let's drop some of the pressure maybe a little bit off of Gianmarco Prado in the number 21 yellow highlighted white and black Rodin car that currently sits there, the second car in shot, third position in the race, because you want to allow Prado to maybe go for an overtaking opportunity on Deegan Fairclough. That's where your opportunity might come through. It's been such a difficult circuit to try and make the move. If your teammate opens the door, maybe you can get through on both of them and sneak your way through in the second spot. You've got to be very mindful of the racing around here. You've got to have that big brain and refocus. And that's how you're supposed to race open wheelers these days. It's not about full attack, going gung-ho from lap number 1. It's about playing your cards right, playing a tactical game. And that's where you get those good results. That's where consistency reigns supreme. That's where, making those decisions where you effectively don't have to make the passes. We said this back in Silverstone, both myself and Piers. We were saying that effectively, the biggest overtake that you can make on the circuit is one you never have to make at all, i.e. forced a mistake out of the driver up ahead. 3 minutes and 20 seconds left to go. There'll be 2 laps left to go at the line. Pat Huizenmoder leading by 4 seconds. It's his nearest, makes no difference. Done for Huizenmoder, who has taken full control over round number 4 of the championship. Is starting to run clear and run rings around the drive. He'll be starting third tomorrow. I wonder if he'll be able to do the same thing once again, because if he is, maybe we're getting another terrifying prospect in the GB3 Championship. It's as close as Pradal's ever been then to Fairclough, who feels the need to go defensive on the penultimate lap, down into the first corner at Tarzan. The inside line for the number 7, it will still be Fairclough hanging on at the moment for second position. But clearly, those tyres have seen better days, and he is really feeling the pressure from not just one Ronin car, but from both of them as well, all over the rear end. At the moment, it does seem as though there's going to be a few more opportunities left for Gianmarco Pradal and for Alex Ninovic. Let's wait and see. Of course, the two drivers behind have been battling up towards the front end of the field. To be fair, Pat Hoyes-Moder as well. All three of these drivers have been battling up towards the front back in Silverstone, and they're continuing their run towards the front. If they battle too hard, Reza Sawuthan might also rejoin this fight alongside Wampu Shui. Noah Lyles maybe a little bit too far off to have any aspirations of joining this fight, but with a very short time left to go in the race, time is ticking away, the opportunities are ticking down, and things might be falling through the fingers of Deegan Fairclough. Let's wait and see if the 21 then of Gianmarco Pradal in the yellow highlights is able to do anything about Fairclough. He's going to get a run down into Tarzan. He's going to get an opportunity. It's just about how, when, and how aggressively Fairclough is going to defend. You'd probably assume like his life depends a bit. Back into the DRS zone then, and back out through the Ari Lyndike curve as they head their way back out onto the start-finish straight to begin the final lap of proceedings here in race number 1 of the weekend and race number 4 of the championship. Fairclough defensive into the first corner. Onto the brakes goes the number 21 of Gianmarco Pradal, is unable to sneak it around the outside, looked for the up and under as they depart the first corner on the final lap. And there was no opportunity for Gianmarco Pradal at the moment. Fairclough is holding strong at the front of the field. The front of this train, second place, front of the field is already checked out. It almost looks like this is the battle for the race victory. That's just how dominant Pat Hoyes-Moder has been. 5.4 seconds with tears in his eyes as he crosses the line. And what has been an excellent performance for Pat Hoyes-Moder thus far in this race. He's running away with things. Does have a podium around this circuit, of course. That was done in race number 3 last year when we came here to Circuit Zandvoort, and he put on some great overtakes that day, I might add. There was a bit of a look to the inside from Wampu Shui, the 56 car. The second of those Argenti with Kramers, the silver and blue, trying to get past his teammate Reza Sawuthan, but couldn't do anything about it then. Onto the brakes and into the Hans-Ernst Bock. Of course, into Kumo. Here comes Pat Hoyes-Moder. This is the circuit where he made his debut back in 2023. It was a movement forward for him in 2024. It's a movement for him once again. Pole position translated into victory. Pat Hoyes-Moder victorious for the first time in GB3. A brilliant and dominant display from Hoyes-Moder as he leads across the line. Fairclough, Pradal, Ninovic, Sawuthan as well, Shui, Lyle, Azari, all in one train across the line. What has been a brilliant battle between them. And like I say, an epic performance. And like I say, it's just been very enjoyable to watch this driver come into form and settle himself in the GB3 Championship. Of course, it's kind of one of those ones where we've seen this career build effectively from the start. When I remember when he jumped in back in 2023, we were like, oh, well, he's actually, he's quite good. He's interesting. He's a good talent. Last year, when he had the Hard Rock Cocktails livery on that JHR and started pulling in some really decent results, started building that consistency. The first round at Silverstone showed the progress that's been made, but here at Circuit Zandvoort, it has been hammered home. Again, a truly brilliant performance there from Pat Hoyes-Moder. And like I say, not only to win the race, that's always impressive, that's always good, but to win the race that convincingly, that's always the impressive thing that I find with some of these drivers, because it looked like, he'd done that time and time again, that's how he's always running around the race circuit, finding that consistency, finding that dominance, and like you say, being able to run himself clear of Deegan Fairclough, who in himself is a quality driver. No switches in those top positions though, because of course Pat Huizenrode did start from pole position. Of course, we did also have Deegan Fairclough start his way from second place as well. So no changes in those top two. And I can't wait to hear from the top two drivers as well, because, like I say, they've shown us the feistiness and how they've built up on that Silverstone weekend and how they've moved their way forward here. And of course, as well, to hear in a moment's time from Gianmarco Pradl, who we have seen towards the front before. But bouncing back from the retirement in race number 3 at Silverstone as well was Gianmarco Pradl, and the disappointment that went with it. Obviously, it was a disappointing race for the entirety of the Rodin team. As we can see the drivers then into the pit lane. There's Pat Huizenrode. I'm sure his dad will be nearby. I might say there might be some tears in the camp after what has been a long journey to get to this point. And signing for a new team, a brand new team here in GB3. It's great to have XL Motorsport here. And not only that, their livery looks fantastic. So I'm always about that. I like seeing a little bit of colour, a little bit of variety out there on the grid. And there we go. The celebrations in the team with the family as well. A superb drive from Pat Huizenrode. And is this the turning point? I said with the likes of our championship leader Freddie Slater missing from today's action, this is the time for drivers like Pat Huizenrode to start turning things around, to start moving themselves into contention for the championship. And that is exactly what has happened. And like I say, has done that convincingly as well. Whether this will be as easy tomorrow as it was today, we'll have to wait and see. We'll start from third position in tomorrow's race. So not going to be quite as easy as it was from pole position. It looked easy, it looked comfortable, it looked absolutely phenomenal for Pat Huizenrode. And you can see here already chatting to the team. There's going to be plenty of handshakes, fist bumps, and celebrations in the paddock. We'll head our way though to highlights from the opening race of the day. Highlights from race number 1 here at the Zandvoort circuit. As we head our way down into the first corner, it was Pat Huizenrode who did an epic job to start from pole position and lead down into the first corner. The number 7, though, of Deegan Fairclough was in second position, and he'd remain in second position through the first corner. No major dramas as they'd head their way through Tarzan on the opening lap of the race. Keanu Alazari, though, as they were heading up towards the Hugenholtz block, was the one a little bit out of shape, so he was trying to send one down the inside of Noah Lyle. Couldn't quite do it. Flynn Jacks was the driver making all the progress in the opening stages of the race in that bright yellow and black car. This was some contact between Bostantiev and, of course, Jack Sherwood in the 78 XL Motorsports car. Sherwood then showing some great overtaking opportunity as he was firing one down the inside of one of the Argentina Promos, that one being Flusha. Nikita Johnson to the outside of Hugo Schwarzer. This contact would send the number 4 round, and the high-tech TGR driver would end the race up there before returning. Unfortunately, a bit slower. This driver, though, not slow at all. Epic drive from Pat Huizenrode to take his first victory of 2025. A superb performance and a first victory for Pat Huizenrode. It really was epic stuff to see for Pat Huizenrode, and really nice to kind of see a driver really move his way forward. I know I've said it a few times, but to pick up that first victory trophy, the important stuff to take that first victory, it really does make such a big difference when you're able to take that first victory. You can see all of the drivers and teammates and such. You can see George Brabner in the middle of that. My goodness, there's a lot of people trying to catch up with all of our drivers. And like you say, I'm sure there is a lot of words being shared there down in Parc Ferme. None more so than to this driver here. Is he going to be a championship contender? Coming into the season, I might have said maybe not. Coming into this race, yeah, that qualifying position was very, very impressive. I will say, I don't have full standings at the moment, but I can tell you this driver is the championship leader at the moment, Pat Huizenroder. I will try and do the full maths for you so that we actually understand where things lay in this championship. Of course, but I do believe it will be a championship lead takeover by one Mr. Pat Huizenroder, which would always be good. I mean, like I say, seeing new championship leaders is always impressive. And like you say, it just it shows and really hammers home that position and that kind of consistency required to take on this championship. I know, obviously, you've got to say there is that thing of, our championship leader is not here today, so that does kind of change things a little bit. Alas, he doesn't make the rules. He doesn't set the stakes. He's been given a deck of cards and he's played with them brilliantly. I do, by the way, have championship standings. They are working out. I have them all set, and I will say Pat Huizenroder does have the championship lead. He's got 79 points, which gives him a 6-point lead over Freddie Slater. More importantly, though, it's 6 points that he has over Noah Lyle, who is in action. Of course, there will be a race coming in tomorrow at 11 o'clock as well. Big congratulations to all of our podium sitters. We'll see you tomorrow, though, for action in GB3.